Hello guys, welcome back to the next tutorial. So in our variables section, we're gonna talk about strings today, which is, in my opinion, I think it's one of the most used variables and one of the most used stuff in programming. So let's get started and talk about it. So let me just quickly open the PyCharm. I created a file called strings.py the same way as we were doing, and I already created the configuration so we don't have to waste time during the tutorial. So let's get started. So let's define what are strings. Basically, in the comments, I can just write a few things that it's a sequence of characters. That's what string is. And you all know what characters are. It's like A, B, C, D, all those alphanumeric things. Or strings can basically it can contain anything. It doesn't have to be just A, B, C, D. So it can contain A to Z, right? It can contain 0 to 9. It can contain any alpha numeric or any special characters as well. So it can contain all of them. The only rule is when we define the string, we have to put them in double quotes or single quotes. In double or single quotes. That's the only rule. So if we define it like that, everything is a string. So and also there's no difference in using double or single quotes. It's pretty much exactly the same thing. So let's do this. Let's define few strings and all those things. So let's define a variable called a, and in double quotes I'm gonna say maybe something like this is a simple string. That's a string, right? And just to show that double quotes and single quotes works the same way, I'm just gonna define one more string called b and say using single quotes. Maybe this is good enough, right? All right. So now we have already defined couple of strings. So let's print them out. Let's do that so we know that they are both same, right? So let's save the code and print them out. So it says this is a simple string and using single quotes, both the strings printed out, no issues, no errors, it works great. So that's what I wanted to show you. Now let's take a look at few other things. So do you guys notice that it's just a plain simple string, right? These two. Let's see, I have to write something like don't, which has a apostrophe s and those kind of things, or maybe I have to use a code just in case. So let's say I'm just gonna define a string, so where I need to use some codes. Just that's what I'm just saying. So I need to use codes, maybe uh, let's inside a string. So let's make it more intuitive. So let's say I wanted to have a string which prints out like need to use quotes, and the quotes, this word is inside double quotes or single quotes. So if I do something like this, what happens? This started giving me errors, right? This because why it happened, can you guys just guess it? So if you notice it, what's gonna happen is the string started from this double quote and it encountered this double quote, and the Python thought that the string ended. Now there's again one more character called quotes, and Python does not recognize it, and then one more double quote, it encountered one more double quote, and then this string again started and this string ended when it encountered the ending double quote. So looks like this quotes is kind of orphan, right? It's just in no man's land. Python doesn't know what to do with it. So how do we handle those kind of things? So that's why there are two ways to do it. The first way is the easy one. So let's say if I'm defining the string with the double quotes, what I can do is I can put a single quote here instead of the double quote, and instead of the double quote I can put a single quote here. So what's gonna happen is, let's print this out. So print C, and when I do that, run the code, it's gonna say need to use quotes inside a string, right? And quotes is inside a single quote. So why it worked? Because this was the starting double quote and the ending double quote, the matching double quote is here only. So the single quote is just the first one and this is the ending one for it. So it just behaved like my string is inside the double quotes, so I don't need to worry. Single quotes are just okay. I don't need to treat them in any special way. Same thing goes the other way around. If I put the single quotes here and here, and if I use the double quotes here and here, it just works great. It's exactly the same, right? So the both of them works great. Whichever way you can use, you can either put your string into the double quotes, or you can put your string into single quotes, and you just need to be aware that what you're doing. That's pretty much it. So they both works great. And let's take a look at the second way. So the second way is, let's define one more string. So I'm gonna say another way to handle quotes. That should be it, right? So now again I want to put quotes inside the double quotes. So let's do that. So I want to use double quotes. Let's say I want to use double quotes specifically. So how can I do that? So there's a very special character in Python, which is the backslash. When I do that, it's gonna actually ignore the use of double quotes in Python. So it's gonna say, do not treat these double quotes as anything special. So do not worry about that. Anything that double quote is encountering, do not treat it as a way of starting a string or ending a string. So just ignore the functionality of double quote. So right now, when it sees a double quote, it thinks like, okay, a string has started or it has ended. But right now, when we say that backslash, it's going to ignore the functionality, and it's going to ignore the functionality of double quote here as well. So what's going to happen is, it's just going to ignore the functionality. Backslash is not in picture. It's just used to ignore the functionality of double quote. So what's going to happen is, it's just going to print the double quote as it is. It's not going to perform anything, because if you notice, these things we put into double quote, right? But when we print them out, its double quotes are not printed. It's just the string that's printed. So double quotes and single quotes are just a way to let Python know that these things are strings, right? So when we tell Python that please ignore that, so what it's gonna do is, it's just gonna print the double quotes as it is. So let's print that. So let's print D, and I'm gonna save it, run the code. There you go, right? Another way to handle quotes, and it just printed out the double quotes as it is. So that's one more way to handle the double quotes. Sorry, yeah, that's one more way to handle quotes or double quotes, both the things. So that's what I wanted to show you. So what other things I can talk about in strings? There are a lot of things in strings. I'm gonna have separate lectures for those things, like string methods and all those things. So for now, I think this is pretty much it. I wanted to talk about that it can contain all these things in single quotes or double quotes, and that should be pretty much it. Or maybe, you know what, one more thing I just remember. So let's say you have a string called, let's type it. So this is a single string. Let's say the string is going too long and you wanted to kind of split it in two lines. So what you can do is, you can just put a backslash here and hit enter. So what's gonna happen is, let's print this A. So when I print this A, it says this is a single string. So it just does not treat it as two different lines or two different things. It prints it in the same line, and it treats it as a one single string. So we can use the backslash to split the line, and it can just work pretty great. So this is only useful when you have, let's say you have a bigger string and it's going up to here, maybe here, and somewhere you want to, let's say something like this, and then you want to use a backslash. So because you don't want to type a lot here, so just to put it in a new line. So this is useful in that case. So that's pretty much it, guys, for this one. I would just say download this file for practice, refer to it, and define some strings, play around, get back to me if you have any questions, and practice a lot. So yeah, stay tuned for the next lectures, guys. Thanks for attending this one. Thank you.